And that's why I made the comparison with the WTO. I would try and link the penalty. I would formulate the penalty as if you do something bad, you do not get something good. Whereas the current situation is if you do something bad, you get something even worse, which doesn't really help to my mind, at least to my mind. Then your points are explaining the benefits as a way of creating incentives. So saying to China, look, if you address these issues, then you will not be confronted with air pollution, which is now creating a massive public health bill for you. I think that is a very convincing argument, and I think we can use that argument more effectively, which is why I said we need the scientific community to engage more with schools and people to explain the science and the need to reach agreement in 2015. But a question I've often had is, and I wanted to ask some scientists, and you're all scientists, so I'll ask you, what actually determines the transition point from short-term to long-term? When does short-term stop being short-term, and when does long-term begin to become long-term? My own answer to that question is elections. And it doesn't matter if the elections are next week, or next month, or next year. Short-term is what comes before the elections, and long-term is what comes after the elections. And part of the problem is that many of the benefits that we associate with acting on climate change come after the elections, and many of the costs associated with acting on climate change come before the elections. Many years ago, well, not all that many years ago actually, I had the great honor to go and see President Obama in the White House at the beginning of his first term, and I asked him, are you going to engage progressively on climate change? And he said, of course I'm going to engage progressively on climate change, but not so aggressively that the opposition wins the next election.
Thank you very much for a very interesting discussion. Unfortunately, I have to move this section of the plenary to close now, so please all remain seated. Thank you very much again. The agenda is the Vision Factory. We have 5 young scholars who have volunteered, and I invite you to come up toward the front now as we go through the slides that you have presented us. I have Glenn Hyman first. Over.
All right.
Okay, so we're all set. The theme is, how am I an agent of change? First Bruce, please go.
For my slide, what do you got the slide? Okay. Nothing to do. I won't do anything now. So, yesterday I was in this fantastic session on oceans and Earth system governance. And during the course of this session on oceans and Earth system governance, I found myself contributing to this conversation. And I dragged out from my long forgotten memory a story that I'd heard from an old professor of oceanography back from when I was a youngster, must have been, there we go, 15 years ago or something like this. And I was thinking to myself, this professor never would have imagined that this little story he told me when I was in his classroom back in Woods Hole 15 years ago, I would be telling it again here to all of you in Tokyo at the 4th Earth System Governance Annual Meeting. And this is kind of the point. All of you, many of you, hopefully all of you, have some hand in teaching. Some of you have your students here who are presenting work, which was followed on from work you've done in the earlier parts of the Earth System Governance Project. And I would just like to take a moment to celebrate this teaching and the pedagogical dimensions of Earth System Governance. It's not only research and it's not only action, but it's incorporating the science plan into the teaching work that we do so that the messages that are in the plan make their way into the minds of students like these fish. And then when they disperse and swim all over the world, and 15 years from now, when the Earth System Governance Program has been closed and become something else, and these fish are in other places doing other things, these ideas, these very good ones, will reappear in unexpected places and be passed on to others as well. So keep teaching, people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have Ian McGregor.
Be the change you want to see in Earth System governance by wearing another hat. We do lots of research, we do teaching in Earth System governance on how to make a difference. To make a significant difference, I suggest you wear another hat, possibly an activist hat like I wore at the Qatar Climate Summit, or possibly even a trade union hat, which I also wore at the Qatar Climate Summit, or working as an advisor to governments, national, local, regional, supranational, where you can also make a difference. Wearing these hats, I'm also keen to work closely with people wearing other hats. Other activists, government officials, politicians, KPMG, unit board, who can have great insights into how we can work together in the climate change process. And I think as an environmentalist and environmental NGO, I'd like to work more closely with you in terms of making a difference and making